Tēnā koa.
Wai atama tauranga kia marama.
Kia
Wai taki a mahi katoa. Tu mai tukaha aroha atu, aroha mai, tatou katoa.
Kia ora, thank you everyone. And thank you for people's patience online. If you've been waiting for our live stream to start, we have got there, and we welcome you to the meeting. Just a reminder to everybody that the meeting is live streamed this evening and also recorded and can be found on the board's YouTube channel. And there is a YouTube link on the front of our agenda. We'd like to welcome any members of the public that are watching the live stream this afternoon, and also welcome to board members and staff. It's great to have you all with us. Board members, just a reminder, if you have a question or comment, please use the raise hand button. And everyone, please remain muted, but cameras on when you are not speaking. Also another reminder that our minutes will be more detailed for public transparency. And may I just remind everyone that any criticism or disrespect of elected members and or staff and or anybody that are with us this afternoon, we will have to stop the discussion and move on from that. So look, just like to say a massive welcome again to everybody, and we will kick into our meeting. I'm going to start with apologies. I have one from Jake, who is not here today, and we have everybody else online. So could I please have a mover for those apologies? Michelle, thank you. And Jackie, thanks so much. All in favour. We could just raise our hands, that would be easier, I think. Perfect. Thank you so much. That's carried. Do we have any declarations of interest for today's meeting? Nope. All good, fabulous, thank you. And confirmation of previous minutes. Did I have a mover for those? Sarah and Daryl, thank you. Oh, we've got Michelle and Sunita as well. Okay, so Sarah and Daryl, all in favour. Awesome, thank you. That is carried, fabulous. Okay, we are moving on now to our public forum, and we'll be starting with the Citizens Advice Bureau. We have Dr. Ronnie Davey, who is the chairperson. A big welcome to you, Ronnie. Thank you for being with us this afternoon. Just a reminder, Ronnie, that we are live streaming and it is being recorded, and you have 5 minutes. And if you'd like us to ask any questions, please leave time for that as well. Cool. You're just on mute too. There you go.
Unmuted.
Welcome.
Thank you. O kia ora tātou, ngā mihi nui kia koutou. Ko Ronnie Davey tāku ingoa. Thank you very much, Alexander, for introducing me. As you said, I'm the current board chair of CABCHA, which is ngā pou whakawhiranaki o Aotearoa. So Citizens Advice, in other words, or CAB as we call ourselves. So thanks very much for the opportunity to talk with you today. I thought I'd just cover very briefly 3 areas, because I know that time is precious. Just to talk a tiny bit about who we are, why we're applying, and perhaps how we fit your funding targets. And if there's time, then I'd welcome questions, of course, as well. So thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to our application for discretionary funding. As you may know, we do have a strong presence and reputation in New Zealand. And in Christchurch, we've been going for 52 years. In fact, the last 2.5 years, we've been trying to have our 50th anniversary without much success because of COVID, but we're still hopeful. We have over 100 volunteers operating out of 3 branches around the city. We only have 1 paid worker, and we have another who's on contract with MB, and she supports our migrant communities. We provide a whole range of services. If you're less familiar with us, by phone, face-to-face when we're lucky enough to be able to run those. By email, we have online chat, and we run a range of clinics as well. So secondly, why we are applying for this at this stage. What we would like is your support with both setting up our new location and with the initial rent there. We've recently had to vacate our city branch premises, which were at Ara, and were also free, which we were very delighted and lucky to have, partly because of Ara's reconceptualising and internal restructuring. So we've suddenly found ourselves needing to move from there, which, as you may know, is a fairly expensive process. And as we can't afford commercial rents, it hasn't been easy to find a location where we can actually offer the confidential spaces we need at a rent that we can afford. So we've recently signed a contract with the Salvation Army, and soon we'll be in the process of moving. And so we're really looking forward to collaborating with them to serve high needs clients. We've been keen for a very long time to have a stronger presence in east of Christchurch. We currently operate a weekly shift in Eastgate Mall at the Loft, contributing to their wraparound multi-agency services. And so we're looking forward to making our presence a bit more felt as well. And finally, or thirdly, we believe that we actually do align with most of your funding outcomes. The first one or two, supporting and developing and promoting capacity and sustainability and increased participation and an awareness of community, etc. I think one huge strength that we offer is our extensive database cabinet, which in fact includes information on virtually all local activities and organisations. So sporting, cultural, arts, heritage, all of the things that you've mentioned already. We maintain and we update this for the local area. So if you go in, you can find information on pretty much anything that you seek. We also help organisations to promote and to publicise their activities and events on our social media sites, such as Instagram, Facebook, and so on. So we are very keen to support all local organisations. Third one, around community engagement and decision making. We maintain and we continue hopefully to increase a presence at all council and community meetings and give input into these, community, neighbourhood boards and so forth. Our volunteers come from right across all parts of the city, and we are very certainly keen to keep encouraging new opportunities for volunteering in the newer area. The next few outcomes are really our bailiwick. Community and neighbourhood safety and collaborating with organisations. Again, our database cabinet offers information on pretty well every aspect of community need. And we frequently get referrals from the court, from police, from WINS, from INZ, from tenancy services and so on. And in fact, from our clients, because we do ask them if they have been referred, and it's really interesting to find, who has referred them. If you actually go on to most government websites, you'll find there is cabs up there as people to go for advice too. Our focus is on making people know what their rights are, helping them find out their rights and responsibilities, and finding out where they can access the support and help they need. So we are citizens' advice, but we're giving information and offering a range of choices for people as much as anything. We also offer a range of regular free clinics. We've got several free legal clinics, including a specialist immigration lawyer and also a refugee specialist lawyer. So we have those clinics bi-weekly. We offer a form filling clinic and immigration advice clinics. So there's hopefully a range of things that people are able to access. The overcoming barriers to participation is one that we feel really strongly about, and many of you will be aware of the digital exclusion research report that we threw to government, which was looking at the impact of public digital services on inclusion and wellbeing of those who are digitally excluded. And that's, I think, had quite a powerful influence. So that advocacy role is one that we are very keen to also contribute to. And as I noted, we've got form filling clinics, letter writing clinics. We can ring people. We do ring people on organisations and firms and things on people's behalf. So anything that we can do to sort of support people who don't have the skills or access or confidence to access what they might need at the time. And finally, looking at fostering collaborative responses to areas of need and strengthening connections. The way we work is collaborative all the time as much as possible. So we work closely with a huge number of other agencies, MSD, WINS. We work very closely with community law, with Immigration New Zealand, JP clinics, budgeting services, the Loft, of course, family violence groups, and so on. We have a number of prisoners who access our service at West. We're also in the process of developing courses to train support workers and also offering legal advice clinics at Canterbury University. So that's just really a little overview of some of the work that we're doing and how we feel that we may fit with your particular funding outcomes and your foci. But finally, just thanks so much for the chance to talk to you, albeit rather briefly. I know it's been a bit of a zoom through, but we are looking very much forward to moving, and we hope that you might find some way of supporting our request for discretionary funding.
Thank you so much, Ronnie. Really appreciate you taking the time to meet with us today. So yeah, it's really great to have updates from community groups. So really appreciate that coming through. I do have 2 quick questions. We have reached time, but I've got 2 quick questions, one from Daryl and one from Michelle.
Yep. Thank you, Alex. It's more a statement, not a question. I really want to say thank you so much for the excellent work you do. I had cause to use CAB for the first time about 2 weeks ago. I put my query in, and within 24 hours, I had an in-depth, comprehensive answer, which was absolutely excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. That's really good. We do try and get back to people within a day. So we're still operating even now. We're operating our phone, email, and online chat services and a lot of our clinics even through these times. Thanks, Daryl. I'll pass that on. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
So I guess, yes, thank you very much for the work that you do. And the question that I have for you is, I know that you're largely run on a volunteer basis. Yes. How are you going for recruitment of volunteers, and has that been harder because of COVID? And yeah,
that's a really good question, actually, Michelle. Thanks for asking that one. Last September, we found ourselves in a situation where we had to, because we run a very comprehensive induction program of over 30 hours, we had to postpone that, but we decided that we certainly couldn't do that this time. So we still had eager people, and we kept well over half of them were keen. So we actually changed what was usually for our face-to-face to MS Teams, and we ran our induction on that, and we continue to do that. So we've still got lots of keen volunteers coming in, and we're just having to respond to the moment and to work however we possibly can. A lot of us have come from backgrounds where we are quite technologically interested and so on. So we're doing our very best to keep our volunteers coming in, and we've got a whole lot more for September already. So yeah,
right.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you so much. So we were just going to have those last 2, but I see, Sunita, you've got your hand up, so if you can make it would be great. Thanks. You're just on mute.
Oh, hi, Sunita.
Kia ora, Ronnie. Thank you so much for all the good work. I have been one of those first-hand receiver from the good work CAB does. So I used to be a lecturer on Tuam Street on International Business College, and I remember establishing positive relationship with the city branch. And on regular basis, our students will be seeking guidance from CAB, especially in terms of tenancy agreements or any dispute, consumer sort of act towards that when they've bought things on TradeMe and it didn't work out or things like that.
Yes.
So thank you. My only question is here, have you guys tried Community House? Have you approached them for a space?
Yes, we have. We certainly, Sunita, that was really well up the top of the list. It was decided that it just did not quite fit our needs, and I think the costs were a bit high for us, because as an organisation we are totally dependent on what funding we can raise, and so rents are often a huge part of that. So we're also aware that Community House is in the process of relocating, but and a lot of their spaces don't offer the sort of quite offer that degree of confidentiality that we need to women working with clients. But thank you for that. Yes.
No, I'm sure something will work out soon, but keep up the good work, and please pass my regards to everyone in team. Thank you.
I will. Thanks, Anita. I will.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. No, thank you so much, Ronnie. We really appreciate you coming and giving us that update. Anytime things are changing for you, we'd love to have those updates at the time that they're happening. Appreciate it.
Great. Thanks, Alex. We look forward to, continuing to work as much alongside you as we possibly can.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. Take care.
Okay, thank you.
We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
All right. So we are going to be inviting our next person in now for our public forum. And that is, I believe, Mr. Wayne Rollinson. Here we go. We have him. He's just connecting. Now we've got Wayne coming to us this afternoon, and he is going to be talking to us about Mount Pleasant Road and water reticulation and stormwater. I can't see Wayne now.
Good afternoon.
Wayne, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Fabulous, good. It is lovely to have you with us. Just want to remind you, Wayne, that the meeting is being live streamed and recorded, and you have 5 minutes today. And if you would like to leave time for questions from board members, then please do so towards the end. That would be fantastic.
Yep, no, that's good. And I presume someone's driving the PowerPoint for me.
Yes.
Yeah,
hopefully.
That's good.
We'll see how it goes.
Just
let us know when you want it changing.
Okay, thank you. Just to introduce myself, I'm Wayne Rollinson. I'm the property owner of 255 Mount Pleasant Road. I'm just put together a presentation to give you an outline of the frustration that I've had over the last 4 to 5 months with water egress onto our property. That's our house with the solar panels on the top of the roof, the silver roofed house. Over the early part of December, late November last year, water was transitioning from the roadside where the yellow line is, and that followed through our neighbour's property where the pink line follows and ended up in the corner of our property. I then dug a channel across to our stormwater, which is the blue, light blue dotted line. That ditch is not a normal thing that we would do. I channeled it that way to get that water off the property and do the most logical thing. And the stormwater that went into is designed to take our stormwater from our property only, not from the neighbour's property or the roadside water that was coming from the bank. Just to explain, the water coming out of that bank was reticulated water and stormwater, so it was a combination of both. And for anybody who's interested, it was basically like leaving 2 household taps on full bore for 3 months. If you move to the next slide, please, thank you. The photo on the left is basically the duck pond, I call it. So that's the neighbour's backyard. It may look like it's only a couple of metres in square. I can assure you that that area there is probably 10 metres by 5 as a minimum. How that house has not moved or slipped off the section, I'm a bit unsure. The water then travelled around the side of his house over the top of the driveway, which can be seen in the second picture, and basically flowed down to our property there, where I've taken a couple of snaps of the retaining wall just to show that basically the integrity of that retaining wall is now fully compromised. Yes, it is railway sleepers. Yes, the railway sleepers are old. I've put a claim in with AMI, which was initially rejected on the basis it was gradual deterioration. I've pushed back with AMI and they are reviewing it at the moment. If that is not successful, I will go further to the Christchurch City Council. And if that's unsuccessful, I'll go to Financial Services Complaints Limited and fair go, because, you know, for 4 or 5 months, those sleepers were wet. They're not designed for that. And that has been, the integrity of them has been compromised. It's not my doing. I didn't ask for the water. I'm just giving everyone background. Next slide, please. So during the last 3 months or so, sorry, from December through to February, I warned everybody within the council. I had direct lines into some of the team leaders in water supply and road services, that if we didn't do something about stopping all the leaks from either the reticulated water or stormwater, we would have a disaster. And that wasn't a threat. It was actually my better understanding of what was going on in the area. So that's the outcome of what happened. So we had a major flood through our property as a consequence of not just stormwater. So make that very clear. With the reticulated water, our surrounding properties and the neighbours was completely saturated. So when we had a big rain in February, that water flowed down onto our property along the ditch that I dug, and through into our stormwater, which wasn't designed to handle, as I said, all the water. It has compromised our whole bottom story of the houses, probably in the vicinity of $50,000 to $60,000 worth of damage. That little snap there that's showing the pavers outside the bedroom, that was running water. It was like, I always wanted a fish pond. It was a real fish pond. It was flowing. Okay, move on to the next one.
Well, just to let you know, Wayne, we've got about 30 seconds left.
Yeah, that's all right. Okay. No props. I got one more slide.
Next slide.
Yeah, I don't know who's operating, so I'll probably get my 30 seconds back, maybe.
Absolutely.
It's actually the key slide too.
We have it on our devices as well, Wayne.
Is it not showing? Because it's showing on my screen, so I
No, it's not popped up.
Right.
Okay, basically the last slide, without me having it up, is basically showing what I can perceive as a possible solution to this. The water that's coming from the embank has not fully been solved. I had the roads person out last week and I met with him. He's going to make some adjustments, which is in that slide. You'll see that. However, there is still reticulated water flowing at times. Now, we're not sure whether it's someone up the hill that's turning water on and off, and that could be where the leak's originating from. I think the simple answer is for the council to dig a channel, a drain along the boundary. Where the blue, so where the blue line is basically, and that would solve a lot of the problems. Remember, this is not just to protect Wayne Rawlinson or his immediate neighbour. This is actually protecting 6 houses. And additionally, that road is carrying buses. Yeah. And that it's not a threat or anything, but that road is not, it hasn't been repaired properly since the earthquakes. And there's a lot of heavy traffic going around that road. So I'm just putting it up there in lights. And I think it needs to be dealt with better than it has already. And I'm not going to go away. I will keep pushing the council for a solution because, it's not good enough for what I've had to go through and endure.
Yeah, fair enough. Look, thank you so much, Wayne. I really appreciate you taking the time to come and speak with us this afternoon. And you said that you are speaking with staff at the moment. So, I would love you to keep in touch with us. If you have any updates, that would be really useful. And if you have any issues, then please let us know. But sounds great that you are in touch with them, and hopefully we come to a good conclusion. I have a question from Tim. Oh, you just put yourself on mute. You're off. You're on. You're back on mute, Tim. Tim, you're on mute. No, it's not working. Sorry, Tim's having issues with his mic. Did you want to pop the question in the chat bar, Tim?
Unfortunately, the chat's turned off because last time it was showing on the live, so we didn't.
Oh, of course. Do you want to text me, Tim? You're all good? Okay. Look, well, Tim, if you've got any specific questions for Wayne, then if you want to flick them through, we've got his email details as well. I'm sure we can do it that way, unless you're really fast on the text message. All right, well, thank you so much again for meeting with us, Wayne, and please let us know how you go. And hopefully we come to a really good conclusion for you.
Yeah, no, thank you, and thank you for the opportunity.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Wayne. Take care.
Okay, thank you. See ya.
Bye. Tim, if you have questions that you want to ask throughout, then just flick me a text and I can ask them if you've got things coming up. Or you could hold up notes, I'm not sure. No, send me a text. Okay. So thanks everybody for your patience with that. We have our next forum today, and that is Wayne Hawker. I think.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, I've just loaded also onto members' devices some information that Wayne has just sent me before he's making his presentation.
Oh, perfect, fantastic.
We seem to have lost Wayne.
He said he was waiting.
He was in the waiting room, but he's not here anymore.
Autumn. Okay, so he may have disappeared then. No one's got an email from him at all? I don't.
I did that he was in the waiting room and wondered what was happening, but yeah.
Right, he might have dropped off. Well, look, if he comes back on, then we can take him perhaps as like through deputation time. So I think we'll move on now, board members, to our deputations. Our first deputation we have today is in regards to the Woolston Community Centre, the sale of the building. And we have with us Janine Reid, who is the principal of Te Waka Unua. So I think, is Janine there? Yes, I can see you. Hi, Janine.
Hi.
It's great to have you with us this afternoon. Janine, I'm just going to remind you that the meeting is being live streamed and recorded today. You have 10 minutes and leave some time at the end for board members to ask questions. That would be really fabulous. But thank you for being with us. Really appreciate you taking the time, and fire away when you're ready.
Kia ora, well, thank you. Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Te Waka Unua Te Kura, ko au Tutumoaki o Te Kura, ko Janine Reid tōku ingoa. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Kia ora, and thank you members for the opportunity to speak today with you. My name is Janine Reid, I'm the principal at Te Waka Unua School. Although my priority is primarily focused on providing the best possible educational opportunities for the students that we serve, that role extends to the wider school community and embracing opportunities for our students, their whānau, and of course the community that they live within. This responsibility kind of leads to me addressing you today. So really upon the disestablishment of the Woolston Community Association that resulted in the closure of the community centre building, the school had become unable to continue to book the facility as we'd previously done for a variety of purposes like breakfast club and te reo classes for parents, and sometimes family hui for outside agencies would use the space. And although for some years the space has been underutilised, the building did provide a really valuable resource to the community in the local area that it's based in. Certainly mothballing the building and leaving it to sit dormant not only it's a resource not being utilised for the community that it's in, but it also resulted in rodents moving in, and it's also likely to become very quickly a target of vandalism and antisocial behaviour if it's not being utilised. So we're really here to ask for the building to be transferred to Te Waka Unua School Board of Trustees to act as like the guardians of the facility for the local community. We're really committed to the facility again being available to community groups to access. Setting up a really simple booking system could be established through our school office and managed by the administration team here at the school. The school cleaning and caretaking services would just be able to be extended and manage the daily cleaning and security and maintenance of the space. The Board of Trustees has also talked about the facility being right there and the need to commit to upgrading and the upkeep and maintenance of the facility for the community. There's 500 children and their families from the community that all would directly benefit from the school-related activities utilising the centre weekly, including the use of it for Samoan language classes, itinerant music, study support centre. It's been used for St John's first aid training, music therapy, adult Te Reo Māori classes, and lots more activities. We're aware of other like non-school related groups that have utilised it in the past, and I'm sure they've been finding it, the closure of the facility, a challenge, and we hope to be able to re-engage with previous users of the space to see if they have an ongoing interest to continue to utilise the facility. I think it's really important to mention that the school has no plans or intentions to like financially gain from creating an income from the hireage of the building or anything like that. We really see the benefits of the school managing the facility being the ease of access for the school and the community to use it more than it has been in the past, I guess. All requests for use for the community from community organisations, NGOs, education, health, wellbeing, that would benefit the local community. The school would definitely plan to accommodate them where possible. I think it's really important also to be really transparent that the school wouldn't be interested in supporting private groups to use it for parties, celebrations, birthdays. They wouldn't be a priority. Any activities where alcohol is intended to be served, that's something that the school wouldn't support. So our intention would really would be to maintain the building and the access to the school community and the wider community and organisations, especially those that provide really positive, mana enhancing, wellbeing related activities in a place that just provides it locally, close by, within walking distance to lots of families and community members. And hopefully for many years to come, keep utilising that facility rather than let it just, disintegrate or similar. So I just thank you for allowing me to share our vision for keeping the building available as a community asset. And I'm really happy to answer any questions you might have.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Janine. Really appreciate that. And it helps a lot with our future decision making. So thank you. I do have one question from Michelle.
So thank you so much, Janine, for coming, and also for, it seems like this is going to create more opportunities for the community, and that is obviously really welcome. Just in terms of what's your thinking in terms of outside community group use, not involving alcohol, very happy to hear. Would it be like only outside of school hours, or what would the likely, or you might not have decided yet, but.
So we have discussed that, and I think definitely not that it would only be available to a community outside of school, because there's no intention that it would be used 9 till 3 by the school. For those of you who know the building, it's quite a small space. It's great for meetings or small groups, or it has been used in the past for like a group of music therapy kids with an external provider and things like that. But it certainly wouldn't be intending on it becoming like a classroom space 9 till 3. So, there used to be some groups that came in and used it for like some fitness people would come in and use it now and again. As long as we can pre-book times and slots and stuff like that, I don't see that being a problem. And certainly, my admin team are really happy. I think we can create it being used more often than it has been in the past, simply because the ease of access to it through the school with it being on the site.
Good work, thank you.
Awesome, thank you, Michelle. Did we have any other questions for Janine? No? Yes, Daryl?
Thank you. As an ex-teacher of Woolston School, Janine, can I just check with you, is there any involvement with the Ministry of Education in the decision-making around this? Do you have the support of the Ministry?
It's a Board of Trustees decision, but the Ministry of Education, because it would be considered a board-owned property, or it would fit in that category where the board would insure it and maintain it outside of the property funding from the Ministry of Education. So the Ministry of Education wouldn't look at that as a building that was owned by them. I don't think they can. So it would sit with, we used to have, you might remember the Wharanui that was down on the field. That was a board owned building. So it sort of sits separately to the ministry's building stock. And essentially then the Board of Trustees, which is essentially made up of the community, would make decisions about its future. And it's so it wouldn't be, the Ministry of Education wouldn't take over that responsibility, which I think is probably quite important.
Thanks, Janine. It's a great idea.
Oh, thank you, Daryl. All right, well, I want to say a massive thank you again to you, Jen. Oh, I've got another hand up. Sanita, fire away.
Yeah, thank you, Janine, for coming to us. I am aware that this particular building in the past have been used with the Fiji community quite a lot for the religious community events, because there are very few buildings in Christchurch where we can light lamp, which is allowed under fire safety. So I'm glad that you're considering to have an open availability of this building to the wider community. And because I'm aware that that one particular community I'm talking about, I have been to the prayer meetings there. And so once, such a connection has been established, they are way beyond just a building. So that place has got far more mana. And thank you for intending to look after it.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Well, thanks, Janine. We have one more deputation coming up in regards to the community centre, and then we're going to go straight on to the report from there. So either you can leave or feel free to stick around if you like. If you're going to stick around, I just ask that you turn your camera and mic off, but feel free to stick around if you'd like to listen to the outcome. Cool.
Alex, Peter has disappeared. Sorry.
Okay, we're not doing very well, are we? Did we find Wayne?
No, I think we've got a bit of a technical glitch around keeping people in the waiting room, but we'll deal with that offline.
Okay, perfect. No, there is no worries at all. So it looks like we do not have our second deputation. So I am guessing now that we will move on to that item. And do we have Kathy with us?
Hello.
Kathy Jardin. Hey, Kathy.
Hi. Hi.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. That was a really good deputation by the principal.
Yeah, fabulous.
I saw her PDF the other day, and it brought tears to our eyes in our office when we saw the little boy and his comment about playing the guitar. It was just, it was so heartwarming, but yeah. So you'll be aware that there was a submission circulated to the board members, I understand, and that was from Mr. Oakley and his concerns with the facility. And I think Paul and Grace are able to talk to that. But other than that submission, I've got nothing further to add to the report.
Cool.
There was only the one submission received.
Yeah.
Silas?
Board members, that will be, Kathy is actually tabling the comments today, and which will be attached to the minutes for public record.
Oh, okay. So do we have those available for people to look at now, or Paul?
Yes, they're on the big tin can in the meeting folder.
Oh, too easy. Fabulous. So you were saying though, Kathy, that Paul is happy to speak to those now for us?
I believe so.
Hi, Paul.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. Yeah, in relation to obviously the maintenance side of things, we in the last year did have a limit on our operational budget, and so limited funding was provided to that specific building, and that was about $1,500 around scheduled maintenance. Council did cover the power, obviously the building insurance because it does sit with council, and also the building warrants of fitness checks and certification, and that was roughly about $4,000 that we spent on that particular building. In relation to the capital renewals and replacements going forward, we're not due to spend any major amounts, which would be $18,500 in the financial year 2027. So from a limited financial perspective, obviously the ongoing 50-year whole of life costs add up to a lot more, but in relation to the maintenance side, there has been limited money spent on it. However, obviously, as Janine talked about in her submission, that or in her presentation, that the Board of Trustees are willing to take on that, as is whereas. And I'll let Grace talk about the community stuff because that's probably not really my forte.
Cool. Thank you, Paul. And Grace?
I'm happy to answer. I'll put my camera on. Happy to answer questions, but I'm not sure what else. What I would, it's really what do people want to know rather than me presenting anything in particular about the community.
Yeah, cool. Do we have any questions for Grace or Paul? Jackie?
I just wanted to say, in terms of the building and in terms of the community use, numerous groups have over the time, the community association ran that building. It did not get sufficient community use to it actually maintaining it as a community presence in and of itself. This is just like more replying to the correspondence we had from the person objecting. Right, a lot of the things that he has asked for are actually present at other places in the community. In terms of different social groups and interaction, in terms of community workers and so on, a lot of them are available across the road at the Wilson Development Project. So I support the handing over the building to Te Waka, and I don't feel that the objections that have come through that are on the Big Tin Can are actually valid enough to go against it. Okay.
Cool. Thank you so much, Jackie. That's really useful. All right. Well, if there are no other questions for staff, I'd like to say thank you for coming and speaking with us. And we will now go on to our decision. So do I have a mover for the resolution? Jackie. And second, Sunita. Cool. Any discussion? No. All right. Wow. Okay. So all in favour? Perfect. Are you in favour, Tim? Oh yeah, you've got a thumb up. Perfect. That is fabulous. Okay, well that is carried. Well, thank you so much. And once again, thank you so much for joining with us this afternoon, Janine. We really appreciate you being with us, and thank you so much to staff. Thank you for your time that you put into it. And yeah, look forward to seeing the great things that come out of Te Waka having control of that community room. Very exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Now, I just saw, am I correct in saying I just saw Wayne pop up onto the screen?
You did.
Is he gone again?
I'm here.
He's here.
You're there?
Yeah.
Oh, there you are. Hi, Wayne. How are you?
Good evening. How are you?
Good, good, thank you. It's great to have you with us. So we are just, everybody, we're just jumping back to our public forum. And we've got Wayne Hawker with us this evening, and he is here to speak to us about the harm minimisation bill. Just a reminder, Wayne, that we are live streaming and recording this evening, but it is lovely to have you with us. You have 5 minutes, and if you would like questions from the board, then please leave a little bit of time at the end, but fire away.
No worries. So thanks for the opportunity to speak with you guys. Recently, I learned about the members' bill that Chloe Swarbrick was bringing to Parliament, the Reducing Alcohol Harm, the harm minimisation bill. Included in this bill is a clause that would stop anyone from lodging an appeal against a local alcohol policy. This is something that happened here in Christchurch when our council tried introducing such a policy, and sadly, ever since, our communities have been the poorer for this. As you know, for a number of years, I've been trying to do what I can to bring about change in our proliferation of liquor stores in the community. But the Sale and Supply of Alcohol Act 2012 really is designed to support the liquor industry. And now, after many years of writing letters to MPs, I finally have someone who's listening to the community. I'm here today to ask this community board to start the ball rolling at a local community level, and to consider the opportunity to be able to also support this bill that Chloe is introducing, and to take this up on behalf of our community with the full council to do likewise. In our communities, we have had enough. The time has come to give the power back to our communities, to present submissions to our council to develop a local alcohol policy that cannot be appealed against, and give our communities a glimpse that we can start the long road to minimising alcohol harm in the community. After all, that is the key object of the Sale and Supply of Alcohol Act 2012. Yet with the continuing growth of alcohol harm across New Zealand, it is clear for anyone to see this legislation has failed all New Zealanders. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you so much, Wayne, and really appreciate you coming and speaking with us this evening. This is obviously something that affects our communities a lot. You've got a couple of people online here today that have attempted to be part of helping your cause, Wayne. So we totally appreciate you being here again this evening. I have 2 hands up. I have Sarah first, then Michelle.
Kia ora, Wayne. Thanks so much for that. You may not have seen, I've flicked you an email well before the meeting, but just today, in that Councillor Davidson has been in contact with Chloe Swarbrick already. Did that once the Auckland thing passed, and we've got work underway. But I think it would be great if our board could voice support at council for a similar action. I think that would be really good.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. Yeah, I did. I got your email, and I also actually got one from Mike as well.
Cool. Awesome. Michelle?
So thank you very much, Wayne, for presenting and for the work that you have done on reducing alcohol harm. And I absolutely wholeheartedly support you, and it's exciting, the opportunity of getting enough MPs so that the bill itself doesn't have to await being drawn out of the biscuit tin. I'd really like to see, like you, communities having more control over access to alcohol and preventing alcohol harm. So good work. And I think that probably everybody on this board is absolutely behind that, and really welcome the opportunity of supporting what you are asking us to do.
Thanks, Michelle.
Fabulous, thank you. Well, if there are no other questions, I'd perhaps like us to, if it's possible, Liz, if we could make a note in our notes, just that the board would be in support of bringing it up at council, and also in support of councillors bringing it up to our MPs. Is that possible, Liz?
Yes, I've got it that the board has agreed to support the members' bill of harm minimalisation, and you'll be including it in the next council presentation if you wish. It's available, yes, and that's what I have.
That is fabulous. Cool. Well, thank you so much again, Wayne, for coming and speaking with us this afternoon. We will definitely get the ball rolling with that and looking for some positive outcomes. So once again, thank you. And I'm sure we'll see you around, no doubt.
No doubt you will. Cheers, guys. Have a good night.
Take care. You too. Have a good day. Okay, cool. We got Wayne. That's good. So we do have, oh, we've just finished that one. Stop. Okay, so who do we have? Okay. Okay, so we are moving on now.
To item 5.3.
Yes, 5.3. And that is another deputation board members, and that is the Hagley Park North Tennis Courts floodlights. And we have Professor Chris Kissling with us. It is lovely to have you with us this evening. And Anne Dingwall, how are you? Good to see you. Just a reminder that the meeting is being live streamed and recorded this evening. So it's all out there for everyone. But we want to thank you so much for your time this evening. And just a reminder that you have 10 minutes. And if you would like questions towards the end, then please leave some time. That would be fabulous. So when you are ready, fire away. Oh, you're just on mute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Good. Thank you. The Christchurch Civic Trust thanks your community board for granting its speaking rights to this Zoom technology meeting. For the agenda item 11, Hagley Park North Tennis Court, new floodlights. My name is Chris Kissler, and I have with me Anne Dingwall. We are both board members of the Christchurch Civic Trust. The supporting document for this agenda item has been submitted for uploading to the devices used by the members of the community board. I take it that members will have received and hopefully read and digested the contents. I fully expect you may have questions, and therefore I intend to leave time within the 10 minutes allocated to the trust for this to happen. As the supporting document will be attached to the minutes of this meeting, I see no need to read it here into the record in full. But I confirm the Christchurch Civic Trust support for the proposed additional 6 floodlights. However, the Trust's concern is with procedures being applied by Council to facilitate the tennis club's application to install permanent structures in Hagley Park. These processes...
Sorry, Chris, can I just get you to speak up a little bit? It's just a little
bit
I'll try. Sorry. Thank you.
I'll get a bit closer to my microphone then.
Oh, that is way better. Thank you so much.
These processes proposed by staff contravene the requirements that normally apply to all such applications in respect of Hagley Park. A reserve that has its own statutory Hagley Park management plan. The Christchurch City Reserves Empowering Act 1971 requires, for the avoidance of doubt, that Hagley Park be administered subject to the provisions of the Reserves Act. We raise the matter of delegation. The Trust contends that the staff report and advice have taken into account the relevant matter in specifying the delegation proposed for Council approval of the Hagley Park Tennis Club's application. This is set out in the Trust supporting document. The delegations register specifies a limit on the exercise of the delegated power. Approval is subject to the Council itself obtaining the necessary resource consents. However, in this case, the tennis club will be seeking the necessary resource consents to install floodlights that it will itself own and operate. Therefore, the Council cannot exercise the delegated power in this matter. I turn to the matter of the lease history. There appears to be no current lease issued under the Reserves Act, let alone a Reserves Act lease which provides for the erection of structures, a statutory prerequisite. That is a fatal flaw in this application. Council is required to manage the park, including Little Hagley Park, according to the purposes of the park, which is set down in Section 17 of the Reserves Act, and in accordance with all other relevant provisions of that Act. Tennis clubs simply paying the rent does not obviate the requirement for a current lease. In terms of legal advice sought, we note the variance between the statements in the staff report at 8.3 and 8.8, which requires clarification. In 2014, there was a High Court case for Judge Mackenzie, which considered the matter of expired leases granted under Section 54 of the Reserves Act. He held that a renewal of a lease would, on the proper interpretation of a lease, involve the creation of a new lease, not an extension of the existing lease. Trust contends that this judgment is highly relevant to the application by the tennis club. This High Court judgment is viewable at the link provided in our supporting document. When council receives an application from a club to install permanent structures in Hagley Park, as in the case of the tennis club's application, the approval process is not independent of any required statutory process under the Reserves Act, contrary to the claim in attachment C of the staff report. A land lease is a prerequisite. The appropriate type of lease providing for the erection of structures by the club has to be granted and be current under Section 54 Reserves Act. Not even the installation of floodlights at Hagley Oval using emergency earthquake-related ministerial powers could avoid this requirement. Simply rolling over an historical lease, complete with all previous provisions, is not an acceptable form of compliance with the Reserves Act, the leases and reserves generally, and with Hagley Park in particular. It does not exonerate council from its statutory duty to administer Hagley Park in accordance with all relevant statutory requirements, including the Hagley Park Management Plan. The staff intent to process this application, relying on the Local Government Act, appears to be a means of avoiding consideration of other relevant legislation, is certainly not subordinate to the Local Government Act. The staff report omits reference to the 2007 Hagley Park Management Plan. Policies 17.4 and 17.6, in respect of Objective 17, building and structures, state conditions. 17.4 talks about the effect of the building or structure on the Hagley Park environment. And that will also include the colour schemes that are applied. The solution we consider is that firstly, that council consider issuing a new lease appropriate for the application by the Hagley Park Tennis Club under relevant provisions of the Reserves Act, i.e. Section 54, 1B. Council provisionally then approved the Hagley Park Tennis Club's application for the additional floodlights, with a proviso that construction or installation not proceed until the appropriate land lease for the proposed structures has been granted under the Reserves Act. Installation may be delayed, but this is a consequence of the applicant and council not having moved earlier to resolve the expired lease issue. The Trust is watchful over statutory compliance matters, particularly where proposed council actions may lead to precedent setting and/or the circumvention of statutory requirements. Thank you, and we're open to questions.
Thank you so much, Chris. I have two questions. I have Michelle and then Daryl.
So Chris and Anne, thank you very much for coming along and speaking with us. I just want to make sure that I am understanding your issue correctly. So in terms of the lighting itself, that's not your concern, and you support the improved amenity. I'm correct. But you do have concerns, and I'm impressed at the amount of research that you've done. You've definitely got a far greater understanding of the relevant legislation than I do, but your concern is around the legality of the current lease arrangements.
Correct.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Daryl?
Thanks, Alex. My question is fairly similar to Michelle's. Just confirming, you're not questioning what is happening. Really, you are questioning the process.
Yes, that's it.
Right.
That's
so we really need to get clarification between what you're saying and what the council is saying. And Alex, can I just check, we've got Derek Rosen, Network Planner, coming up?
Yes, we do. And he
Okay.
can answer questions as well. Obviously, he'll be answering questions as well.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Daryl. Were there any other questions for Chris or Anne at all? No, we are all good. Well, thank you so much, Chris, and thank you, Anne. If you would like to stay online, we will just ask that you turn your microphone and camera off, but you are more than welcome to stay online. We are going to go straight to that report. Where we'll have Derek. I think Derek is with us already. And you can listen into what is going on. So thank you again for being with us. Really appreciate your time. All right. Derek, thank you for being with us.
Yes, I'm glad to be here, and good afternoon, everyone. What I can do is just, I'm happy to answer questions, but I think it will be helpful for me to highlight some key points of the report. And so I'll just read this quickly so they're all relevant.
Thank you.
The floodlight application is for a resource that is needed for tennis in North Hagley Park to enable it to remain optimum and successful for the club by allowing the court use during low light conditions. The approval that's been sought is for the placement of lights on the park via the process indicated by the specified delegations in the body of the report. These delegations reflect the accepted Parks Unit process for approval of floodlights, which normally are not funded or owned by the council, but by sporting clubs. This approval is not usually obtained through a ground lease review process. In most cases, this is because the floodlights are on grass sports fields and not in a ground lease area. The values of Hagley Park, as indicated through the Reserve Act classification, the Empowering Act vesting, and the Management Plan direction, will all be protected through the light structures needing to meet all the requirements of resource and building consent, including, but not limited to, scale, design, colour, and minimisation of light spill. If these consents are not obtained, the installation of the towers will not be able to proceed. Just one other point in that the trust mentioned was in relation to the nature of the lease. And what I just need to mention here, there was reference in the attachment C to the report, but the short of it is that the club does have a valid right of occupation. They exercise the right to be able to have their lease renewed from 2003, and that term will end in 2024. It is acknowledged that an update of a deed of lease is required in accordance with the due leasing procedures that we follow for all leases, but I need to emphasise that that process is not necessary to deal with the matter, the current application at hand. And I'm happy to answer questions.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. Questions? Michelle.
So I've got a couple. So one is, and I take on board what you're saying, that the lighting approval is a separate issue to any potential legality around the leasing. So just in terms of the lighting, I note that that the lights were to be turned off when not in use, and I feel like I have read it, but I may be getting another application confused. But we have had with some of the lighting arrangements, there's an automatic shut-off included to ensure that they're not accidentally left on and create a bit of a nuisance. Is there any thought about that?
Yeah, 8 p.m, isn't it?
That's when they have to be turned off, but it doesn't say that it's automatic, I don't think, unless I've misread it.
Yes, that detail, so that is actually incorporated in the recommendations. So all the aspects of the nature of the operation are specified, and I'd need to read. So there is reference that the floodlights are used at certain times, weekdays, Monday, yes.
So sorry, it's the automatic aspect, because it has been included in some of the other lighting things that we've done. Just in case I accidentally. Yeah, I know, I feel like that too. But
then I did, yeah. I'm sure I read it.
Yes, and that's in the body of the report. Yes, that would also have to reflect the, so it'll be a similar time so the requirement that they operate between 5:30 p.m. and 8 p.m. So any automatic shut-off cannot be longer than the end date of the end time of 3 p.m. So they have to correspond with the timing that is indicated in the recommendation.
And you're saying that the lighting setup, that it will automatically shut off though, because it was the human error aspect?
Well, it's really the requirement that is made on the operator is that they operate between those times. How they achieve that is their responsibility. If it helps that an automatic shut off addresses the issue that someone forgets to turn them off, well, that's probably a wise thing to do. The point I need to make is that it can't be later than 8 p.m.
No, exactly. It's just, and the second question that I wanted to ask you is in terms of the concerns around the legality of the lease, and you've spoken a little bit to that. I'm wondering, do we need to be seeking further advice just so that we can be confident, or when we send it to council, should we be requesting that they make sure about that? I'd like to get your thoughts about that, please.
Yes, as I indicated, we are already aware of the circumstances around the lease. A word that can be used, it's quite a complex arrangement. The key points I need to make, as I again reiterate, they have a valid right of occupation. The lease is in effect to the current term is to 2024. Now, when we look at any leases that are due to expire, we have the prioritisation and deal with them in the appropriate manner at the appropriate time. So from that time frame, it is probably appropriate for that deed of lease to be looked at in a shorter term rather than a longer term. Because obviously when we get to that point of 2024, then we have another situation to deal with. The issue too is that the deed of lease is quite dated, so that's going back to many years, and that's the reason why we need to look at an update of the lease to make it clearer and relevant to the current time.
So given that,
yes,
I was just going to say, given that we've got until 2024, but I'm just trying to make sure I understand what you're suggesting, that there should be some work. When would you suggest that the work starts to update that lease?
Well, again, there are a large number of leases and licenses that the Parks unit needs to manage, and so they are they can't all be done at the same time. So we have to deal with them in terms of their priority. And on the nature of the expiry of the current term and in the near future, also the significance of the site, the fact that the deed of lease is a dated document. So all of those things will lead to the decision making as to when work will need to be proceeding. I can't make comment on that because I don't work directly in that area, but it's part of our parks planning team. And the management and personnel who are usually dealing with these leases are well aware of this particular one.
Yeah, so hopefully that gives comfort to our to Chris and Dan. Thank you.
Cool, thanks, Michelle. And you're right, the automatic part of the light switching off isn't actually in the resolution, so we might be able to add that into the resolution because it is part of the main part of the document. I'm positive it is, but I think if we add that into the resolution, that would be good.
Ka pai, Alex.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. And okay, Tim has a question. His question is, will the colour of the poles meet the specifications of the Hagley Park management plan?
Firstly, the management plan doesn't specify in detail particular colours. And what it directs is that colours and scale and design, they need to be compatible with the values of the park, which includes the landscape, the trees. So presumably any colour, green being the predominant colour of the vegetation on the park, that any colour will need to be compatible with the environment. Now, the actual detail of and specification of all those elements will be dealt with through the consenting process. And that's the other point I need to make, is that this process that we're now dealing with is for the approval of the placement on particular sites in the park of these structures that are the lighting towers. Park staff will also have input into advice on the all the elements of the design and colour, etc., of the lighting towers, as we did with the larger lighting towers in Hagley Oval. So I take the mention that is a really key aspect of the whole process, but it is dealt with through the building and resource consent processes.
Was that good, Tim? Perfect, thank you. And Daryl, do you?
My question, Michelle has asked and Derek has answered. Thank you.
Perfect, fantastic. Was there any other questions? No, I think we're good. Well, thank you so much, Derek. You've done a great job of answering our questions and speaking to the report. We really appreciate that. So we will now look at moving it, possibly with an amendment, Michelle. Okay, so
yes,
Liz.
Excuse me, Madam Chair. I was thinking to add your amendment into 4.4C or B, to amend B to say.
Oh yeah.
No, I think it's a C, that the lighting system is to be fitted with timers to ensure that it is compliant with the times of. Sorry, I'm going up and down in my off till 8 p.m.
No later than 8 p.m. Yep, that sounds good.
Yes, yeah,
that would be great. Thanks, Liz.
Can I just ask as well that perhaps that just, and probably it does anyway, Liz, because I know you're an incredibly good minute taker, but perhaps that the minutes might just reflect the discussion that we had around the concerns with the lease, and that council's aware that it's a complex lease arrangement, and that it is, I'm not sure if you'd want to say outdated, but that in requiring being updated.
It requires to be renewed.
It's not just the renew. It was more just to take account of the comments that were made by Chris in terms of his concerns around the legality. So it sounds like they are like that we can have some comfort, but that it is a complex arrangement. So just to make sure that that is reflected by the minutes.
I understand, Michelle.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yay.
It does. It does make sense.
Yep.
Thank you. Happy to move.
Cool. So we have a mover. Did we have a seconder? Tim, you can second. Okay. Do we have any more discussion? And everybody's happy, obviously, with that addition of 4.C. All right, well, I will put the motion then. If we have our mover, our seconder, all in favour. Right, thank you. That is carried. Fabulous.
Alex,
Yes.
sorry, I missed a good portion of that due to a personal matter. So I'll abstain, but I'll get to vote on it at council.
Okay. Would you like us to note that?
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much. And you've got that, Liz?
Sorry, I've got so many screens open. Yes, I have got that. Thank you.
So yeah, so just Sarah abstaining, but carried. Thank you. Okay, so moving on now, team, we are up to presentation of petitions. There are none. Moving on to correspondence, we had our one correspondence item. Do I have a mover for that? Sunita? And Deborah, you can second it. Oh, yes, Liz?
Excuse me, Madam Chair, I'd like to make comment on the correspondence. I have been in touch with the librarian staff, and the manager of Turanga is contacting the Residents Association to work through those comments that they have made.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks for that.
And we'll be providing
some more information. That's great. Yeah, because there were quite a few things to work through in that. That's really good to know. Thank you. So we had our mover, Sunita, our seconder. We have Daryl.
No, it wasn't me. It was.
Well, it is now. No.
Oh, okay.
Jackie put her hand up.
It was Jackie. Happy to second. Sorry.
Jackie seconding. All right. All in favour for the correspondence. Cool. Thank you, everyone. That's carried. All right. Now we're moving on to mobility parking, and this is the times of operation and maximum parking limit. And we've got with us this afternoon, or this evening now, we've got with us Mike Thompson. Lovely to have you with us, Mike. Just reminding you that we are live streaming and recording. Thank you for being with us, and fire away when you're ready. You're just on mute.
Oh, sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
Oh, good. Sorry about that. Okay, two reports, and I can explain to Councillor Templeton a slight difference there in the one of the recommendations in a second. But firstly, on mobility parking, the issue is, the first issue that came up, and this came from CCS Disability Action, is they said, we don't throw away our crutches or our wheelchairs at 6 p.m. in the evening, because the default times of any parking restriction is 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. except on public holidays. So part of this is saying make these mobility parks apply at any time of the day or night. That's one part of it. The second part, which I've put already to the Central City Parking Restrictions Subcommittee of Urban Development and Transport, because you're aware of their Plan A area for under the delegations register. So they have approved mobility parking, the same report for their area. And in regard to the second thing, which is that we are putting a 2-hour time limit on mobility parks. And the reasoning for that is that we've had a few parks where people with a mobility permit, perhaps is the best way to describe it, are able-bodied enough to work throughout the day in the central city, were arriving early in the morning and leaving their car there all day. So it was their own personal car park. And the idea of the mobility parks, and this is agreed by CCS Disability Action, is that these car parks are for people that have a disability or mobility issue as a visitor to the city, rather than being personalised car parks for individuals. So that's the second part of this, to give it a 2-hour parking restriction and for these restrictions to apply at any time of the day. Now, I need to advise you that we've had one person who has been using a park as their personalised park who is quite upset about it, and they are further upset because, just like this meeting, they wanted to talk in person, but of course, due to factors outside of all of our control, we're not meetings aren't being held in person. So that's an ongoing issue, but I wanted to advise you of that rather than it looking like I'm just trying to sneak something through that at least one person is unhappy with. Nevertheless, so that may or may not be talked about at some stage in the future. So this is looking at all the car parks within the 4 avenues, but excluding that Plan A area, which is also within the 4 avenues. And if you are of a mind to approve those recommendations, this is basically stage 1. We'll be looking at all mobility parks citywide eventually, but we're focusing on the CBD, as you well know, as a high demand parking area. Yeah, so I've probably said enough on that. That's the logic behind the mobility parking.
Cool, thank you. Sorry, I'll just go up something. So I've got a question from Tim. I'll start with his, sorry. Can that person make other arrangements? Do options exist for them?
Well, that's something that we're looking at pursuing with this particular person. For example, they coincidentally work in a building adjacent to the civic offices. We do have staff who can park off street adjacent to the civic offices, our own staff. We know there are a lot of mobility parks very close by, particularly within the West End car park building, which every time we look are vacant. But of course, the issue for this person is he feels that he should not have to pay for one of these parks. But it's something that we'd like to talk to his employer to see if they can assist him with that matter.
Cool. Yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you. I've seen Michelle's hand go down. Sarah?
Good, thanks so much for that. I was just going to say that were they aware that they could, while they couldn't attend in person, that they could have emailed us, sent us a letter, come in by Zoom? They were aware of that?
Yes, absolutely. And they don't have an issue with any particular mobility parks this report that are subject to this report. It's more about those inner city. Well, it's one particular park that they have a concern about. Yeah.
And can I just say thank you for verbally addressing the issue with the parking subcommittee, because one of my questions was going to be, why aren't we making a recommendation to council? But the parking subcommittee makes sense. And I just couldn't see it in the report, and it just might be useful if there's similar future reports to mention that the other area has already been resolved by the parking subcommittee.
I apologise to the chair and to the board. I apologise for that. The same goes, well, actually it doesn't, because I think the motorcycle parking report following this is coming to you first before going to the Central City parking restrictions. So I should amend their report to say it's already been considered by you.
Yeah, and whether there's a potential when we get to that one for us to be making a recommendation to them, I don't know. It wouldn't be normal practice, but we'll see when we get to that one. But thank you very much.
Okay.
Reading the report, Michael, should we be changing our use of language to the 5 avenues, not the 4 avenues?
Yes, I know, a dilemma over
I
that.
just realised that we're being a bit derpy calling it the 4 avenues all the time.
I know. It's kind of been a common phrase, hasn't it? But I mean, Harper Ave is the 5th Avenue in effect. Probably within the 5 avenues. It's just fortunate that Harper Ave doesn't have any mobility parks. There is one, close by. But no, I'm sorry about that too. I mean, there won't be anything incorrect by saying 5 avenues.
No, I feel kind of sorry for Harper Avenue. It's left out all the time.
Right.
All good. All right. So if we are happy with our questions for Mike in regards to the time of operations, thanks again, Mike. Do we have a mover? Sarah? And a seconder? No one wants to. Daryl. Go, Daryl. All right. Is there any discussion at all, Yanni?
Sorry, I just wanted to be clear. Are we just doing the mobility, or are you doing the other motorcycle ones as well?
Oh,
no, we're doing the mobility first, and then we'll do the motorcycle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Cool.
If that's all good. Cool. So if there's no other discussion, all in favour? Aye. Fabulous. Fantastic. That's carried. Thank you, everyone. Now we're moving on to item 10, which is the motorcycle parking time of operations. And I think you've been sent through some questions or info prior from Sarah. Is that right, Michael?
Yes, and I can answer that now. I have sent to Liz and Grace a suggested amendment because I wasn't quite sure, but I think I might see where it looks confusing, and I can explain that now if you like. And I'm sorry, I've lost my report off one of my screens, so but I know the report anyway. If I can quickly explain, when we talk about a parking restriction, most people usually think of like a P30, a P60, a P120 or whatever, the time restriction on parking. And that is, yes, that is a parking restriction. What I've said in this recommendation before you was that this motorcycle parking restriction apply at any time. Now, the motorcycle park itself is a restriction. It's a for anybody in, say, a standard motor vehicle, motor car, cannot park there. It's restricted to motorcycles only. So that was why my wording was kind of the way it was. It sounded a little bit odd, I think, I accept, when I read it. And I hope, Councillor Templeton, that might solve, if you can see I've highlighted in yellow, the change. So the thing with the motorcycle parking is one part of it is we also want these to apply at any time, because once again, if you just put up a standard sign with no times, it defaults to 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And we're saying, well, logically they should apply at any time. And a lot of the motorcycle stands are smaller than a car park anyway, because I know from years ago, if we had a very small space between, say, two vehicle entrances, it wasn't big enough for a car park, it could be used as a motorcycle stand. So they're usually not much use for anyone else anyway. So there's that. Now, the next bit of it is the direct opposite to the mobility parks. I've fielded quite a number of complaints over the years from motorcyclists who say motorcyclists don't come into town to shop or go retailing, or, virtually all motorcyclists that come into town are commuters, so they park all day. And we found when we surveyed that motorcycle parks that had, say, like a P60 maximum time limit were completely empty because nobody used them. Like, to go into town and say buy a fridge, you're not going to try and carry one on the back of your back on a motorcycle, sort of thing. I'm sorry, that's being a bit silly, but if you can understand that, by far the majority of people use these parks as commuters and want to park all day. So that's why we're recommending that we remove a time limit on parking, but make the motorcycle stand apply all day long. Hope that makes sense.
Cool. I've got Sarah.
Thank you. First question, the cost to implement actually for both of these is about 2,500. Is that just simply going around and changing the signs and adding a little at any time onto them?
Yeah, the problem
because you need to add that, otherwise it's not enforceable.
Yes, that's right. And the problem, of course, with a standard blue sign with a white border and white text is generally the size of the sign is that they're not big enough just to add on the words at any time.
No.
So there's a cost of removal of the existing sign and manufacturing, supply and installation of the new sign. And I couldn't tell you just off the top of my head how many we got. I know of mobility parks, we had about 50 mobility parks within the avenues. Might be sort of similar for the motorcycle. Yeah.
And the other one, just addressing your wee point about people not coming into town on their motorbikes to buy a fridge, and I think the same might be for car drivers too, because I haven't seen a car driver with a fridge in their car yet. And I don't disagree that potentially most motorcyclists might be commuting, and I'm just wondering how that fits in our parking policy and things for providing free commuting car parking.
Yes, and that's something we have had a think about, because I'm sure you'll be aware, with the Central City parking policy that was recently approved by council, yes, sort of free unrestricted parking in the avenues is going to become more of a luxury than, commonplace. And yes, of course, we don't charge motorcyclists to park, but parking. Yeah, the number of motorcycles you can have, say if everyone rode a motorcycle or pedal cycle into town, imagine the benefit that would be in terms of, reducing the parking demand and the congestion on the roads. So,
and that's still lower emissions than a vehicle.
Yes, just as staff, we're only recommending this, and part of our recommendation is, and of course it's your decision, but the more we encourage motorcycles into the city, we think that's less motor cars. Sorry. That was our logic there.
Yeah, is it worth us asking for a review period and recommending that the parking subcommittee do that within the Plan A area in regards to that?
Yes, that's entirely appropriate, I believe. Yes, yeah. Okay. And the good thing about that, if I could just say, once upon a time, If you said, I'll review this in 12 months, it was always hard to catch up on these things. Invariably, they'd get missed. But the good thing now with our Info Council process, these become an action that has to be literally actioned. And so we can't just forget about things like a review. I just thought I'd mention that. And it's been helpful for staff to not inadvertently have something slip on us. And equally, it's helpful for elected members not receive information.
Okay, I'll while you're talking to Yanni and others, I will flick some words through to Liz. Thanks.
Thank you, Sarah. Yanni.
Thank you. I just wanted to check in terms of if there's been, what engagement there's been with motorcyclists.
The engagement with motorcyclists has been mainly through the feedback from them saying that, well, with their frustration of a very limited time to be able to park their motorcycle, and that, you know, without exception, every single one has said, look, we park all day and we ride into town as a commuter. And so we've based it on that. I haven't had any complaints from anyone saying they can't find a motorcycle park, or there's problems with that. So, yeah.
Oh, okay, it's just that I've had people recently, which I've put through to the Office of the CE, concerned at the enforcement of motorcycles being parked when there's a lack of motorcycle spaces, mainly within the map A, so not, I guess, not in this particular area. But I mean, this will basically create an improvement for people who use motorcycles to have more flexibility of parking, right?
Yes.
Is anything other work being done in the Central City A thing? I'm just kind of interested in Sarah's amendment and also what the thinking is around the area A.
Yeah, well, certainly what I can say is that the concerns raised to you, Councillor, through the CE's office hasn't filtered to me yet. I mean, I haven't been advised that there's a lack of, or the demand for motorcycle parking is higher than the supply. It's something that if that transpires, we can certainly look at providing more motorcycle parking. It's quite a straightforward matter within the Plan A area or within your area as well.
Yeah, I think it was predominantly within the Plan A next to new amenities like the library, etc. But yeah, I'll put that through separately. I appreciate that that's not part of this report. And thank you for the work that you've done on it. Cheers.
Thanks. Cheers.
Cool. All right. Well, if there are no other questions on the motorcycle parking, then we will move on to our decision. And I've seen Liz has popped off her mic. So thank you so much, Mike, for your time this evening answering our questions. It's great to have you with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Board members, I've received an amendment from Sarah for number 3 and 4. So number 3 is to request that staff review the impact of the parking restriction changes in 12 months and provide advice back to the appropriate community board. And number 4, recommend that the parking subcommittee request a review as per resolution, the new resolution 3.
Cool. Are we all happy with that? Yanni, is it a happy or a?
No, sorry, I'm just trying to I'm just trying to understand the purpose of the reviews. I think it would be helpful if there was some outcome that we were seeking to understand from the review.
Yeah, so I also teenager provided delicious pizza, which is why my mouth was full. And it's great, the kids cook every week now, it's good. So I also asked Liz if she could add into the board consideration the issue raised about the free parking, and just to see, because that's probably the likely impact, and it may be that more people are using them, and that fewer cars come because of that, which would be great. It may be that there's overuse, underuse, There's also the potential to look at, I don't know what happens in the car parking buildings and whether they have much space for motorbikes when any information comes back. And I'm assuming it'll go to the Central Papua New Guinea's board.
Sorry, are those resolutions able to be put on the screen or emailed around?
I could.
I'm just trying to find them. Sorry.
I will email to the board now. Please
Okay, thank you.
your email, board members.
Can you just share it, Liz?
I kept it relatively broad.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just share it. Just one moment. Sorry, just my computer. I've just got so many screens open. Sorry, board members.
Are you happy with that, Yanni? Or are there any questions of anyone for Sarah?
Yeah, sorry, 3 and 4, or is it just 3?
It's
3 and 4
because we can only ask for information to go to the community board that's within the delegated area. So I've suggested, because the parking sub-review committee are yet to meet on this particular one, that we recommend to them that they do it as well. And where I've got as per number 3, that was just my shorthanded, so you're typing it all out again. It's supposed to be all typed out.
Okay, so it's just providing advice back on how it's gone.
Yeah. And that way, and I mean, if we wanted to add, because then at that point we can see actually whether it's been good, whether it hasn't, whether there's nothing needs doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's extending the hours. But your concern is the charges, right? So maybe we should specify that.
Well, I just asked for that to be in the commentary. I mean, it may not make any difference.
Yeah. Okay.
Sarah, can 4 just be rolled into 3?
No, because it is a recommendation to a parking committee.
Okay. Yeah, for the bit and not in our board area.
It'll be a part A.
And I don't think
I know that we will mention it in the commentary. However, we have to remember that resolutions get separated out in our system from the comment quite regularly. So I would say request that staff review the impact of the parking restriction changes, specifically. Sorry, spelling wrong.
But the thing is, we're not changing the freeness of it as well, I guess.
Okay.
But I mean, because when we're changing the hours, or the time frames that they can do it, which means they could do much longer. So it might attract more people.
How about?
And
how are staff do we know how staff would actually review it? Would we have like microchips in the each park? Or?
They would do surveys like they already do. That's why we were able to be told how many people are using each one.
Yeah. I was going to ask Mike to comment on that at the chairperson's discretion.
Yes, certainly. We to the board members, we do have staff who regularly survey parking occupancy, and it'll be quite straightforward to formalise information on specific motorcycle parks as well.
Cool. Thanks, Michael. Appreciate that. I just didn't want to create an extra huge workload for staff, but if it can be done relatively simply, I'm happy for it.
Can I just mention, perhaps with number 4, just the actual title of the subcommittee is the Central City.
Yes.
It's the Central City
Yeah.
Parking.
I would have changed it. Mike.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's fine.
Okay, cool. So with those changes, and if there's no more discussion, do I have a mover? Michelle? Yay. And a seconder? Sunita? Perfect. All right. All in favour? Fabulous. Carried. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Okay.
Have a lovely evening.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. We are now moving on to elected members information exchange. I've got Michelle with her hand up.
Julio. Thanks, Alex. So I just want to raise really with staff the Greening the East update on the project from the project manager that we were expecting in February or March, and I understand that COVID obviously is turning everything upside down. But I'm just hoping, and I did check in the action tracker actually to see if it had been referred to, and it hasn't. And so the update was something that John Filzell said would be useful for this Greening the East project. And from to come from memory, it was from the project manager of the project. So I'd really like to get some information about what's happening with that, please. Does that make sense, people?
Yes.
Yes.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, just to advise the board that they would not have received a February monthly action report as I've been absent.
That could be it.
All right. So hopefully we'll get that soon, Michelle.
That will be good because we're kind of out of the time that was originally undertaken, which is all, and I understand why, but just don't want to forget it. Thank you.
Continue. Totally get you. Thanks, Michelle. Sunita?
I just wanted to touch base on the email I have forwarded to you from Mr. Gerard. I went and met Gerard with Jake, and what an amazing job he is doing. Honestly, I felt really, really humbled. Even little kids were around asking questions to him and helping him out about gardening. So two things I am looking forward for is one is that his questions in the email about council's response, and second is how can I connect him with either Smith City Garden or somewhere where we can help him with seedlings or any kind of gardening tools or materials, because it's all he is doing it out of his own will. But certainly he is bringing joy to the community in terms of colorful flowers. A bit more color would be nice there. And it's one of those corner like Stanmore Road one, which can easily be abused. So to maintain the upkeep is it seems sensible, not only just for the area, but it's a residential place, so kids are around. But yeah, no, it was cool to see that how hard he is working, and I have assured him that council or board will do everything to support him. So just seeking guidance from how we can help him and the response to him.
Cool, thanks, Anita. I think Liz might have an answer for you there.
Hello, Sunita. I haven't had the chance to get the information to you. I have received an email from the Parks unit. The park, when I first looked at it, I thought it was road reserve, but it is actually a park. And we've identified a small problem in the customer service area that sometimes it's put under transport because people also think it's road reserve. So that, however, the parks are more than happy to supply Gerard with rhododendrons, roses, compost and fertiliser. So the parks advisor is going to ring him shortly to arrange that.
Yeah, as you said, it's a funny one because it's called Welcome Rest Park, but it's right on the edge of like a T junction. So apparently the history is that there used to be a dairy on the top of that land. But once the dairy was off, it was kind of a barren land and turned between park and road. So that's good that somebody is already onto it. Can they just CC me, and Michelle and Jake into the conversation as well, if they're emailing him or talking to him? That would be great.
I'll request that.
Please.
But I will be sending information to the board on your request.
Yeah, please. Thank you.
Cool, thanks, Anita. I just had a question from Tim as well, how we could potentially support Wayne Rawlinson. And he's just asked, can we ask staff to explore his proposed solution? So I've just said to Tim that staff are actually working really closely with him now. And that's why in the meeting I asked him if he was feeling like he was having any issues, if he could get back to us. But I'm hoping that they'll come to a good conclusion for everybody in that area. So I think we'll hear back if there are any issues, Tim, but if we just keep it on our radar, I think that would be fantastic. So is it all good, Tim?
No, can we just make sure that gets noted in the just in the minutes, and that we're expecting that to happen and expecting that to be looked at, just kind of the stuff that we've discussed here, just that normally goes in the exchange kind of section. That way it's actually recorded in the minutes that we're expecting that to happen.
Yeah, I'm sure we can do that. That's all good, Liz?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Liz. Is that you, Arahanoi?
Yep, that's me.
Hi.
I just also, can we put in the minutes that the Community Development Advisor put, I've forgotten the person's name, the person from Welcome Rest in touch with Smith Street Gardens, because they do provide seedlings, you know, of annuals as well as roses and, you know, the other things that parks can provide. Just to some of that kind of annual stuff, we can hook them up with the Smith Street Gardens folk as well. So if we could make a note of that in the minutes so that that action comes our way, please.
Someone muted me. I've never been muted before. Felt really mean. All right, so I think if there is nothing else from elected members' information exchange, are we all good? Why are you laughing, Daryl? Stop it. I'll mute you.
It was me. It was me, Alex. I'm sorry. I was muting myself and I got the wrong person.
All good, all good. Yanni, you've got your hand up.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to make people aware that there's some sort of issue at Linwood Cemetery with the New Zealand Remembrance Army, and it's just it came through the media inquiries today at council, where there was a granite headstone to be put on for 2 soldiers, and apparently it's been rejected by council. But I just wanted to make sure that that group and that process is aligning with the Friends of Linwood Cemetery, because clearly the Friends of Linwood Cemetery have done a huge amount of work there, and it would be nice just to ensure that there's a joint up approach to whatever decision's been made or why. So just wanted to bring that to people's attention, because I know a number of board members have been to the Linwood Cemetery for the Anzac Day commemorations that they do, and I know that you're aware of the desire to get the plaque put in place. Cool.
Thanks, Yanni. Sarah, you've got your hand up.
I do, and I actually want to celebrate something because normally we use the space for raising issues we haven't been able to resolve in other ways. I just want to address the photo behind Yanni in that. Yeah. So Woolston Brass were the first band to play back at the Edmonds Band Rotunda last weekend, and it was just fabulous. There were lots of people watching. There's a really good video up on Stuff, so you can hear it and see it. And the junior band went first. So the young ones, and then concert brass, and then the senior brass, and it was fabulous to listen to and fabulous to see the rotunda being used. And then today at the committee meeting, council allocated them over 2 financial years $400,000 towards their rebuild. So
awesome, that's fabulous, that's so great. Thanks for the celebration update, Sarah. I just have something quickly as well, and this is just to keep the board in the loop. I had Carolyn Potter reach out to me. She said she had been speaking to Ross Gray, who's the chair of the Heritage Trust, in regards to Centennial Hall. But at the time he raised with her the grave of Alan McLean of McLean's Mansion. So it's coming up to his 200 year from when he was born, sorry. It was hard late reading emails and hundreds of screens. And his grave is in Eddington Cemetery, and it's actually fallen over. So she was wondering if there was a possibility that we could kind of bring it up within our board and look and see if we could support at getting that fixed up. So we've had, Michelle and I have had a discussion with staff as well, and I'm still waiting for an email back from Carolyn, but I just wanted to kind of get it into our notes that we have brought it up, and we're just looking at ways forward for that. So I believe his 200-year anniversary is coming up in May, so it's pretty soon, really, but we'll see if we can get something positive happening. So just wanted to let everybody know that that's something that we'll bring back to the board, hopefully by the next board meeting with a bit more information. Yanni, you've still got your hand up. Do you have a question or a thing?
Oh yeah, was just going to acknowledge the Woolston Brass Band as well. And it's really cool that council, I think it's over 3 financial years, because it's this current financial year, skips next year, and then comes in the year after. But it might be quite nice. Obviously with COVID, it's a bit tricky, but at some stage when we get through the restrictions, maybe we could just informally go down and have a look at their band room, and maybe the board could consider writing a letter of support for their funding applications, because the benefit of the council funding will be hopefully that it can help attract external funding from other parties towards a project which is a really cool community project. Thanks.
Cool, thank you, Yanni. Yeah, that sounds good. All right, well, if that is all, I want to thank you all very much for this evening. It's been a good meeting. We've got everything done and we've been timely. How crazy. So yeah, really appreciate you all being online this evening, and thanks for the great korero. And now we will, and thank you so much to staff. I appreciate that, and hello to anybody that's been watching online. Thank you for joining us. So we will now finish with our karakia. If we can bring that up, that would be fabulous. Awesome.
Kua mutu,
amata mahi,
mo tēnei wā, mana
ake,
mai mata katoa, o mātua, o mātou whānau,
fabulous. Thank you so much, everyone. I just have a request from Tim as well. He was just wondering if, Tim's gone. Tim, maybe if we could just keep the meeting going a little bit longer. No, people don't have to stay, but Tim's trying to fix his computer because obviously it didn't work.